What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Trophy Room Podcast. I'm your host, your boy Nick, back at it again with another episode. I'm here ready to talk NBA, NFL, MLB, WNBA, and more. What's up, everybody? I hope y'all having a great day on this Trophy Room Thursday. Listen, all I'm going to say is I spoiled the hell out of y'all. Past 3 weeks, I've had 3 guests, and I got another big hitter with me today. Pick a side co-host, one of the best Celtic fans I know, Mr. Joel Dehls, everybody. What's going on, my guy? How you doing?
Good, bro. Good. Your intro music rivals Pick a Side, I gotta say. Did you make that beat? It was hard.
Nah, so I actually got lucky because one of my best friends, his brother, he plays bass and he messes around with a lot of audio. He went on tour with Taylor Swift, he's really good in the studio. And it's crazy. He just hit me last week. He was like, "Yo, if you're ever thinking about mixing it up, I got some new beats for you." I was like, "All right, cool. Like, I'm with that."
yeah, no, that's tough. I appreciate one of the best Celtics fans out there because I don't get that often, man. I think my biggest haters on social media are non-Celtic fans. Whenever I'm talking about Boston, bro, it's nonstop my mentions.
Listen, when it comes to the Celtics, like, you know me, you know us, we got the back and forth. But the reason why I say you one of the best Celtic fans is because, like, I always see you on Twitter. When we get the best of y'all, you say it, and you're like, yeah, like, Miami got that one, but I'm just glad we got the dub. I'm like, okay, like, I respect that, especially because, like, I'm gonna share a quick story real quick. So there was one time me and my fiance, we went to a Celtics Miami game. Jimmy just got back, Bam just got back, Tyler wasn't playing. This was like 3 years ago because she was going to dental school in Boston. So we was like, yeah, let's go. We out. Bro, when I tell you I showed up, I have full Jimmy Butler gear, everything. We lost by like 20 some odd points. There was like 30 seconds left. I was like, you know what? Let's dip out. Let's go. Bro, we was leaving our seat. There was a Celtic fan up the top on the row above us talking about, yeah, fuck you guys. Da-da-da. And one of the guys threw a beer at me. I was like, oh nah. And I was ready to go. And I was like, nah. Yeah. But my fiance just grabbed me. The guy was like, yeah, let's go. And I'm like, all right, like whatever, bro. Like, ever since then, I'm glad I got the experience of being in TD Garden. Like, the aroma is crazy.
Yeah,
but dope. I'm not dealing with that shit, bro.
Yeah, nah. I mean, you get drunk fans, especially you're in a away opponent in a place like TD. You know something like that's gonna happen. On Twitter, I'm either straight up trolling or I'm actually giving my actual opinions on it. When it comes to the Heat, though, they got a bad place in my heart, man. Whenever we play Miami, it just feels like there's always something. Just you know when people always say like whatever, like the rival team that always beats you, like it always feels like they're just doing a little bit something extra that no other team does. That's how I feel about Miami. It's like Miami, of course, they never got like the most talent. They never got like that bona fide top 3, top 5 player. But every fucking time we play, y'all, something happens, whether it's during the game, whether it's spoke coaching, the players, just something that goes your way. Every single game, it feels like. I'm sure you guys feel the same about us, but I mean, it's one of the best rivalries in the NBA right now. We've been going back and forth for years, and we got another game tonight I'm excited for.
Absolutely, man. Yo, listen, when you talk about something goes your way, that's exactly how I felt when Derek White hit that game winner last year.
Oh, my God.
We still won at home. When I just saw it go up, I'm like, bro, there's no way. Of all people, I was like, oh, my God, bro. Yeah, and, like, my fiance had to walk out of my room. She was like, "Are you okay?" And I'm standing in my room watching it on the TV, and I'm like, "Oh my God, we have to go back to Boston." Like,
yeah, I was going crazy. I think we were on BR for that. I think we were doing a stream for Bleacher Report. Mm-hmm. I forgot what it was. Memorial Day though, and I remember during the day I was just out of it, bro. I was drinking all day. I was, so I had woken up from a nap, and it was. I don't remember when oh no, excuse me. I'm thinking about Game 7. This was Game 6. Game 6 was Memorial Day. Game 7 was Memorial Day. Regardless, though, we were on BR for it. My girl's a Heat fan. I'm a Celtic fan. My girl's a Heat fan.
Wow.
So she was sick because I'm in there screaming, going crazy. Like, I can't believe we're going back to Boston. We're beating y'all 3-0. We're coming back. She got the best of me that time, though. She got the best of me.
Yo, man, listen, as much as sometimes I hate y'all, I gotta give y'all some respect because
I feel the same way.
listen, y'all beat us y'all beat us 2 years ago. Jimmy missed that shot. I think I was the only person in the world that said, you know what, I'm cool with Jimmy taking that shot. Jimmy was heating up. Jimmy was doing his thing. He's our star player. Like, who else are we gonna put that shot into? Like, who else? And I'm cool with that. Next
You had a
year,
great look.
yo, like, I'm not even worried about it. Like, next year, we beat y'all, go to the finals, losing 5, whatever. But like, it's just the fact that we have to see y'all at the end all the time.
That's how I feel about you.
Yo,
That's
that's
exactly how I feel about, because I know at the end of the road it's Miami. Miami is gonna be here at some point. I don't know, because you guys with the seeding, y'all don't really care about the regular season, right? Whether it's injuries, whether it's just the talent through 82 games, you guys probably aren't going to be the second or third seed. So I know there's a chance we're going to play you either in round 2, or if we don't play you, you're probably going to beat whoever you're going to play in round 2, and we'll see you in the ECF. But goddamn, man, I hate y'all. I really do.
Nah, every year I say that. Everybody's like, "Oh, you guys are the 8th seed." I'm like, bro, I don't care. As long as I don't gotta see y'all to the ECF, and then I don't gotta see the Bucks to like the second round. But last year when we saw the Bucks in the first round, I promise you, I thought we was done. I was like, nah, it's over. We not going back. When we beat the Bucks round 1, I was like, yeah, Boston, we'll see y'all later. It's a wrap. Y'all gonna see us again.
Yeah.
Yo, but now we talking about Boston, Miami. Let's just get into the rivalry week this week. We already started yesterday with Clips and the Los Angeles Lakers. Clippers came out with the dub, 127-116. AD 16, 12 rebounds. D'Lo 27, 10 assists. Kawhi Leonard 25, 11, and 10. And James Harden came out 23, 10 assists. I'm not gonna lie. Ever since they was talking about trading D'Lo been going off. But let me know what you thought about when you was watching the Battle of LA last night.
Yeah, it was tough because no Bron, of course. So it's hard to take away, like what that's going to be. But that's one matchup I want to see in the playoffs. I want to see the Battle of LA in the playoffs because we know in the last few years the Clippers have gotten the better of the Lakers. But I feel like come playoff time, that's going to be a different beast because we're going to see LeBron, we're going to see AD. Once they get in that playoff mode, it's different. But this Clippers team is different this year. I think it's obvious it's different. They had a bit of a slow start once Harden got there. They lost a bunch of games. Was it 5, 6, even maybe more in a row? And then of course they've been one of the.
Yeah, I think it was like 0-5, 0-6.
Yeah, it was real nasty. And Ty Lue even said it though. He's like, give us 10 games, and we should listen to Ty Lue because once that 10 games was up, they're one of the hottest teams in basketball. Over these last couple of months, they have been one of the best teams in basketball, period. The talent's there. And the thing is with the Clippers, the talent's always been there, right? They've always had Kawhi. They've had Paul George. When they've been healthy, they've been an impressive team. But it feels like it's been a while where, number one, they're healthy. But number two, they have more talent than ever because James Harden has joined this team and really changed kind of what they look like. I think we see this sometimes with Boston too, when you have two wings who – they're good playmakers, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, but obviously not as good as playmakers as James Harden, nowhere close. When you have someone like James Harden who comes into the mix and kind of facilitate, kind of slow things down at time, run the pick and roll more efficiently, one of the most efficient pick and roll players we've really seen in NBA history, that changes what this Clippers team is going to look like. And then you added Russell Westbrook last season. He's coming off the bench now, thriving in his new role. Salute to him because to be the type of player he is, a future Hall of Famer, an all-NBA type dude in his prime, to take a step back and be like, I'm not that same dude right now. And if I want this team to make a finals run, a deep playoff run, I got to take a step back and be a team player before I'm a me guy first. Because he could go out there and he has the stand in the NBA and that locker room and be like, no, I want to be in the starting lineup. I'm just as good as Harden. I'm just as good as PG, as Kawhi, because he's proven that throughout his career. But the fact that he's taken on that role as kind of that bench player, that secondary option to run the bench unit, you see how great this Clippers team is. And the Lakers is tough because last year I wrote them off. I was not a believer in the Lakers. Even after they beat the Grizzlies round 1, I'm like, this still doesn't move me. Like the Grizzlies got banged up in that series. They couldn't shoot threes. I'm like, this really doesn't move me. And then they beat the Warriors and all of a sudden in the WCF. So the Lakers I can't write off because they proved me wrong last season. Some point though, they got to start racking up some W's, right? Because I think last I checked, were they the 10th seed? Like
Uh,
they're
I
kind of
believe they're
teetering.
I believe they're like 10 or 11,
They
but
might be 11. Like they're really teetering, really pushing the boundaries on how bad we can be for the
and I
first 5 months of the season.
and I think I saw a stat that ever since the play-in tournament win, they've been like 5-8.
They've
Like
been
they've been
bad, yeah.
on yeah, they've been on the downhill.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think if you're a Lakers fan, you could look at that positively because you say when it really mattered, we were winning games and we won the in-season tournament. Right now, it's just regular season. We know Bron's going to coast. If Lakers fans want to go that way, I get it. You got Bron and AD, but this doesn't really feel like the same team. And last season, they made all these moves at the deadline and it works. And they were great down the second half of the year and into the playoffs and got hot, but it's hard to do that multiple times. It's hard to kind of bring together new players, and we've seen Bron do this in Cleveland. When was that the year Black got fired? Regardless, whenever they traded for the Jordan Clarksons and all of those dudes, and they went on their run. But it's hard to do that back-to-back seasons, and it's hard to do that LeBron age 39 compared to his early to mid-30s when he was in the second stint in Cleveland. So I'm not writing off the Lakers yet, but they have to start winning some damn games. If not, they might be in danger of missing the playoffs and playing entirely.
Absolutely, man. I think I think to start off with the Clippers, I think you definitely hit it right on the nose. I think Russell Westbrook has definitely been a big part of this team, especially taking that initiative coming off the bench, which is what he learned in Los Angeles playing with LeBron. And he took that role coming off the bench. Him and Norman Powell are probably one of the best bench backcourt duos I've ever seen. Like Russ is coming off, had 16 points that night. I think he had like 16, 7, and 5. So like he's doing his thing, getting his timely buckets. And I feel like he's taking better shots because I feel like Russ knows if he takes better shots, he knows that he'll be in the final minutes of the game, especially if he's playing defense, always having his high motor. And the same thing with Norman Powell. Norman Powell, I think, was like their third leading scorer last night. He had a little bit more than Paul George. Yeah, PG probably had an off night, but still, like that Clipper team overall is just stacked. You still have guys on the bench that aren't even playing. Guys like Bones Highland, Terrence Mann, like he's in the starting lineup, but like he's not even getting that much offensive burn. He's barely touching the ball. They really dimmed his role down to more of like a defender kind of guy, but still. And like you said, James Harden coming in is definitely big. James Harden has now starting to prove that he can play with multiple superstars. Not saying he couldn't in Philly or in Brooklyn, but still, like he's showing that he can do more with limited touches on the rock, which is outstanding in my opinion, especially because we talked about he was one of the best ISO scorers for years to come when he was in Houston. Now to pivot over to the Lakers, I think one of the biggest things that's helping them stay in the hunt this year is AD being healthy. They were talking, I saw a stat that in the last 365 days, Anthony Davis has played the most games out of almost anybody in the league. So that's a huge thing for LA. And like AD putting on performances, carrying the team on offense. He's doing his thing. Obviously, we all know AD's top 3, top 4 defender in the league, but like AD's really putting this Laker team on his back, especially with LeBron at age 39. You see that he really can't do the things that he used to be able to do. But these Lakers got to get some help. I can't see them making a big move that'll top the trade deadline moves that they made last year. But excuse me. But I do see them making like 1 or 2 moves that can definitely help with the team. But I'm still not a believer this season. I don't know what's going to happen with I don't know if, I pray that AD stays healthy so we can really see what this Laker team is going to be like. Hopefully they can make a run like they did last year, like they did in the bubble, and we can see what happens. But topping what they did last year at the trade deadline is really hard to do. So I think when you look at both LA teams, I think the Clippers definitely have a lot more to offer, but I just want to see what the LA Lakers are going to do, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later when we talk about the trade buzz that's going around in the NBA. But I mean, like Clippers definitely got the best of them last night. Obviously, no LeBron, so people were talking about LeBron was ill. Might have been ducking smoke.
Playing
Might have
Madden 2
been
days before.
like, bro, come on, man. Like,
Oh
and
no,
they
I
said,
think he's fine.
I think he's fine too. I think he just like
Little low
didn't want to.
management.
Yeah, he didn't want to play last night, but that's okay. Like, it happens. It's one game. They just need to pick it up.
Yeah, they
So
do. And the Clippers, I think the coolest thing about the Clippers is you have all of these vets, and outside of Kawhi, they're all trying to prove something to the NBA, right? Kawhi got his ring. Kawhi solidified. We know what Kawhi is. But Paul George, even though I feel like he's kind of redeemed himself in terms of like playoff P, the whole choking memes and stuff that go around, I feel like he's redeemed himself, but he still wants to get over that hump and win a championship. Same thing with James Harden. He wants to win a championship. Same thing with Russell Westbrook. So they're all at this point in their career where they know they don't have a ton of years left, right? They all know they're in their early to mid 30s, all of these guys, and they know this is probably their best chance to win a championship, right? We saw Kawhi get his extension. Paul George is probably coming soon. James Harden already has said that he wants to spend the rest of his career in LA. And Russell Westbrook, did he sign a 2-year contract this past offseason, or was it one?
I think it was a 1
year. But regardless, it seems like he found a home. If I'm Russ, I would not want to be looking to go anywhere else. His relationship with Ty Lue, the relationship he has with the guys on this team, I like how they're kind of all coming together collectively. And it's not so much of a, I need to get mine, but it's more so, let's get this win and make a playoff push, because we know that, especially with the injury history Paul George has had, the issues that James Harden's had in the playoffs, they can come together and feed off each other. Where if James Harden doesn't have a good game, that's okay, because you have Paul George and you have Kawhi. It wasn't the same thing in Philly, and of course in Houston, when he is the dude or the number 2 dude next to Embiid. If Harden has an off night, it's going to be really hard to win playoff games. But now if he's having an off game, he just has to kind of change his mindset and be, my shot's not falling tonight. Whether it's the jump shot, getting to the basket, but how can I facilitate and get all of these other Hall of Famers around me involved? Because if his shot's not falling, we've seen that in the past where he's not scoring, he's turned the ball over a lot. He's not engaged on defense. Not that he's, highly engaged normally, but he's even less engaged. If he's able to kind of mature a bit and lock in on the other things when the shot isn't falling, I think they have a great chance in the West. There's a lot of dogs out there. There's a lot of teams in the West that have a chance to come out of it, but they got the talent, they got the coaching to do it.
Absolutely. You mentioned coaching. I was just about to say one of the biggest things that turned this Clipper team from from a bunch of eyes to a we is Tyronn Lue. Tyronn Lue has definitely showed that he's able to make rotations and able to manage guys' time, able to make plays for everybody who can get a good amount of touches, put themselves in better scenarios in order to succeed, and so that way the whole team succeed. So I feel like a lot of credit goes to Ty Lue, and a lot of credit goes to, a bunch of all the guys on the team, especially even the bench guys. Like, they all look at each other and just say, yo, like, we're a bunch of guys who haven't won nothing. Like, we just want to win. And that's really what it's all about. Just to talk about the other game that happened yesterday with the rivals week was Knicks and Brooklyn. I don't consider it a rivalry.
That was a fun game.
It was fun. I'm not gonna lie, but I don't consider it a rival game because on the down low, I am a Knicks fan. I'm from New York. Always gotta love the Knicks. I love Carmelo. J.R. Smith is one of my favorite players of all time. But Julius Randle, Jalen Brunson had 30 apiece, and they won 108-103. Miles Bridges 36. Yeah, it went down to the wire, which I thought was nuts. But Knicks ultimately came out with the W. Like I said, Miles Bridges came out. Miles Bridges?
Bridges, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why I was
Mikal.
About Mikal. I know I was wrong. Mikal Bridges came out with 36. Cam Thomas had 14 coming off the bench. What you think about this Knicks team, especially with the addition of OG Anunoby, and who you think is out in Brooklyn? Because I know they're looking to trade pieces. I know they're looking to do something. Like, just give me a little bit on each team. What you think?
Well, I don't know what Brooklyn's going to do because they want 2 first-round picks for DFS. So if they want 2 first-round picks for DFS, I don't know if they're going to be able to find some deals out there because you're lucky, in my opinion, you get 1 first-round pick for DFS. You might just get some seconds and expiring contracts. But talk about the Knicks first, because the Knicks have moved the shit out of me. It is still a bit hard to gauge them because they're either 20-0 or 20-1 against teams under 500. And they've struggled with teams over 500. They're not, they're around 500, maybe a little bit below when they're playing some of the best teams, the playoff teams. So I don't want to get too ahead of myself with the Knicks because until they can consistently show that they could beat playoff level teams, then I'll be moved. But to their credit, since they got OG, they beat the Timberwolves, which is one of the best teams in the NBA, the first game they got OG, and they smoked the 76ers just a few games after that with the healthy Embiid, with Maxey, with all the dudes there. So at least in this kind of OG era, if we want to call it, since January 1st, whenever they made that deal, they've been able to get over the hump some of the best teams in the NBA. And when you have Jalen Brunson, who is playing as a top 2, top 3 guard in the Eastern Conference, he's been one of the best players in the NBA, period. Should be, he's deserving, I don't know if should be, but deserving of an all-star starter spot. We're going to find that out in the next hour or so. You got to give the Knicks a real shot in the Eastern Conference. I think the issue becomes their size. Without Mitchell Robinson, you're relying a lot on Hartenstein, Julius Randle, who struggled in the playoffs, and now you got Precious Achiuwa, who's playing a lot of backup big minutes. That's going to be hard because you're going to be going up against the Bucks, who got Brooke and Giannis and Bobby Portis. You're going to be going against the Sixers, who got Joel, of course, the Celtics, who got KP and Al, and even Jason Tatum, who's 6'9". That's the only issue I have with the Knicks is that are they going to be too small come playoff time? Just because without Mitchell Robinson, they've still been a great rebounding team, but it's going to be hard to bang in the playoffs when your backup big is Precious Achiuwa. And Hartenstein's been great. He's been phenomenal. He is a backup big, in my opinion, at the end of the day. He's probably the best in the league. Probably the best in the league because he's been phenomenal for the Knicks. But it is hard to kind of see them make a legit finals run. But I think that's okay for New York, right? Last year, they made the second round. They lost to the Miami Heat. Surprised a lot of people being the Cleveland Cavaliers. But they're still a piece away, and I think they know that, and I think the fan base knows that. I think everyone collectively knows that this isn't the final version of this New York Knicks team. It's going to be Jalen Brunson, probably Julius Randle, and then you have, of course, the other pieces, Quentin Grimes, Josh Hart, all those dudes, but we're talking about stars, Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle, but who's going to be that other dude? They've been talking about years about Joel Embiid, this season, really even years about Donovan Mitchell. Who's that next piece going to be? Because it's going to be hard to win a championship with just this team. And talk about the Nets real quickly. They're in a tough spot because they don't have their draft picks. They trade all those draft picks away for James Harden. So the GM, my league type 2K guy I am, I'm like, just trade your players. Get these draft picks, reset. But then you think of it logically, it's like, why do I want to be bad? If I'm going to be bad, just the Rockets means the Rockets are going to have my picks. The Rockets are going to get better draft picks. So it makes sense for them to be competitive. But they're in the worst spot in the NBA because being in purgatory is the worst spot, but the worst spot than that is being in purgatory and not having your draft picks because now you have really no idea which way to go. They got Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson. I like Nick Claxton. Ben Simmons expected to be back Monday. So if you could move off some of these role players, the DFSs of the world, you got a young player in Cam Thomas, whatever values kind of around those outside pieces that's not your core, I'd be looking to move. But for the time being, it doesn't make much sense to make a drastic move because you're not going to be bad enough to get a top draft pick so you don't have your draft picks. And of course, you're not going to be good enough. And I don't think there's a trade out there to make you a legitimate playoff contender. For them, it should be, let's get into the play-in. Let's try to win a game or two in the first round if you're going up against Boston, Milwaukee, Philadelphia. But outside of that, it's going to take a few years for Brooklyn to get back.
No, absolutely. I think when you look at this team, like we've been saying the same thing ever since this team was made last year. Like you look around, there's no one star. It's everybody's a role player and everybody's willing to pass the ball. Yes, it's great, but like with no draft picks, like you have no future. Like if you look around, this is what you have and this is what you're dealing with. Now, to piggyback off what you said, I'm not giving up 2 first-round picks for DSF. You got to be on drugs.
Nobody is.
Chicago is asking for 2 first-round picks for Alex Caruso.
If you want Cade Cunningham for Zach LaVine.
Like, I literally have that in my notes. Like, are you joking? No, I'm not doing that. Like, if I'm going to give up 2 first-round picks, I'm going to go call Chicago, and I'm going to get Alex Caruso. Like, you got to be joking. But
sometimes I think my friends are bad because obviously big fantasy football fan. Like sometimes I think my friends are bad when I try to make a trade in fantasy football and they ask for the world. And then I see real life GMs out here who want 2 first-round picks for DFS, who want multiple first and Cade Cunningham or Jalen Duren or Sarr for Zach LaVine. I'm like, maybe this isn't even my friends. This is just the world not understanding how to value your players.
It's like it's ridiculous. It's like sometimes when people put out these trade packages and what they offer, I'm like, dude, like I don't have a degree. I'm not a marketer. I don't know how the money works. I can come up with something better than that. I'm a little bit more
both ways too, because I feel like if someone would have put out Kyle Lowry and a first-round pick for Terry Rozier, I feel like Twitter would have clowned everyone. Twitter
Yes.
would have been like, "Are you out of your mind? One first round pick, protected first, and Kyle Lowry for Terry Rozier, and it got done."
It would have been automatically denied on 2K. And the fact that it got away in the actual NBA, I was dying laughing because people looked at me. They're like, "Oh my god, how you feel about losing Kyle Lowry?" I'm like, "Bro, we got Terry Rozier for free. Like Kyle's on an expiring deal. That one pick might not even be theirs, and it's not for another 3 years. And we got a young 25 point per game scorer, Terry Rozier, who's still signed for another 3 years. Like we get an A plus plus, the Hornets get an F. Like it's and they're talking about that Kyle Lowry's never gonna see a Charlotte uniform. He should not. Like this is like I just don't get it. Since we're talking about trades, we might as well move in to this topic of the show. We're going to talk about the NBA trade buzz. But just to finish up Rivals Week, we do got Miami Boston tonight. Obviously, we know how both of us feel. It's going to be a great game. Terry Rozier, hopefully he'll have a better start.
Game.
You said what? Revenge game.
Revenge
Absolutely.
game.
Listen, all I want is when I turn on the TV, all I want to see is this. Because he killed for y'all. He killed for y'all.
We did.
Yeah. He killed for y'all, man. And then just to talk about the other rivalry game that's going on that I think is actually going to be really exciting is Kings Warriors. Especially after last year going to Game 7, De'Aaron Fox, Steph Curry battling it out. Like, I don't see why we're not going to get the same thing. And even this year during preseason, they were battling it out. I'm like, bro, like the season ain't even start yet. And these guys are going back and forth on their necks. Like, I think like I love this idea of the Rivals Week for NBA, all that. It just depends on who you match up. That's really it.
Yeah.
Like
and the Warriors got a pretty big win. Was it last night? They had a blowout win for I feel like the first time in a long time. They've been struggling. Of course, they missed the last couple of games.
Yeah.
Of course, passing of their assistant coach. But no, I'm excited. I like this there from the NBA because I feel like the one thing the NBA lacks is, of course, you have games going on 7 days a week, right? I think that's tough for like a casual fan to keep up with, especially a casual fan who, or even maybe a moderate fan who wants to keep up with the NBA, but it's just so hard to, watch 82 games when it's 7 days a week. So I like the idea of having these moments. It's good with the in-season tournament, now Rivals Week, where you're going to have moments throughout the season where you're like, I got to tune into that. I know on this day, it's going to be a great game where these two teams are playing, because it's so hard to keep track, through an 82-game season with all the injuries and teams going on and flying back and forth. So I like the idea that the NBA is doing this.
Absolutely. And like you said, for the mild fans that watch the NBA once, twice a week, it definitely gives you that one thing to look forward to in your week for the NBA. Obviously it's different for us because we do stuff like this for our shows. We do, you do it for your job. Like I watch Miami Heat games religiously. You watch Celtics games religiously. We watch other teams. But like for some people, like just the regular people out there that work 9 to 5s, they come home and they see the list of games. They're like, I don't want to watch this. I don't want to watch this. Like it gives you that one thing to look forward to during the week, so you can actually just sit at home and just watch good basketball.
It's a fact.
Yeah. But just to talk about the trade buzz, 2 big trades that happened so far. Obviously Terry Rozier going to Miami, 9 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds, 2 steals in his debut. Obviously, we lost to the Grizzlies, which I was really upset about. An undermanned
4-game losing streak, right?
Yes, bro. 4-game losing streak. It's been really tough. Jimmy just came back. Obviously, Jaime Jaquez has not been playing with a groin injury, but hopefully he'll come back. He's not coming back tonight, but they said he should be back hopefully in a week. But adding Terry is such a big thing for us, especially an upgrade at the guard position. As much as I loved Kyle was not doing it. He went 0 for 18 on his last couple threes.
It was bad.
Yeah, I respect everything Kyle did for this Miami Heat organization, but his time was up. Yeah. Having Tyler Hero healthy this whole year has been great for us. We're just not a good fourth quarter team. Like we could be in the lead. Surprising. Yes, which is very surprising. I think when you look at the fourth quarters of Miami Heat games, it's really hard to watch. We're really bad with taking care of the ball. Like we can have 3 turnovers all game, but at the end of the game, when the stat sheet says 10, all 7 of those came in the fourth quarter. And we just don't take care of the ball. We're missing shots. We're tired. I feel like we need a little bit more depth, which is great adding Terry. I won't talk about the Miami Heat too much. The other one that's big is Pascal to Indiana.
Mhm.
I don't know if it's gonna work, but it seems like it's been working for them. In his debut, he had 15 points, 4 rebounds, 7 assists. In his home debut, they beat the Nuggets 16 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, especially with no Tyrese Halliburton, which if he can put up a little bit of numbers like this, have some good efficiency with the guys, playing with Tyrese is only going to make his life easier.
Mhm. For sure.
So
And they played one game together, I want to say, Tyrese and Pascal.
I
Was it
think
just that
one.
one game against the Kings, right?
I think so,
If I'm
yeah.
mistaken. Yeah, it's hard to judge them too because you don't have Tyrese there. The whole offense is going to change, of course. But talk about Terry real quick because we talked about that on the last podcast today for Pick a Side. I love this move for y'all. I think this was an A+ move. I thought you guys needed some more firepower on offense, some more shot making, some 3-point shooting, some playmaking. Terry brings all of that. He's having a career year now. Is he going to average was he 26 and 5 or 26 and 6 he was doing in Charlotte? Probably not because you got
20, 24, 5, and 3.
yeah, he was putting up some crazy numbers. Now, I don't think the points per game is going to stay, but you got to hope the efficiency stays because he's been shooting the lights out of the ball. The only question I have, and it's not really a question because I know Spo's going to figure it out, but you have 3 guys who are concerning-ish on defense, right? Who are in your rotation. It's Terry Rozier, Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero. I'm not expecting you guys to play man-to-man all the time. You guys are going to throw zones in there. You have, a bunch of different rules and stuff. I was listening to the podcast with Tatum and Iggy and saying like, oh, when there's eight seconds on the shot clock, do this. When there's 14, do this. You guys, very complex defensive scheme that you could hide a lot of things defensively. But I want to know your opinion on what is this going to look like in the playoffs? What is this rotation going to look like in the playoffs? Can you play all 3 on the court together? Can you play 2 on the court together? How do you think Spo is going to kind of manage this lineup when playoff time comes around?
I think when it comes to just to talk about the 3 of them, I think the way Spo did it last night, obviously Terry came off the bench because it's his first time, doesn't know the whole offense. I think come playoff time, I think Terry starts and I think Tyler starts. I think when it's Tyler and when it's Terry, Terry's gonna take a back seat because we all know Tyler. He's a little bit of a shot chucker. He loves to get himself open. He's not much of a passer. But when you look at when you look at the way Terry plays, Terry's okay with taking a back seat because I saw it last night. Terry had a lot of open shots that he passed up to get everybody involved. So I think when come playoff time, Terry starts next to Tyler. When Duncan comes in, that's Terry time. That's when Terry starts to go off. Terry starts to get a little pick and roll with Bam, doing his thing, da da da. And then if either of them are not having a good night, Duncan obviously has always played off ball, which is going to be so good for us. And just to talk about the defensive end, I don't think when it comes to the Miami Heat, I don't think Spo's going to play all 3 of them at the same time. Only if like Jimmy's hurt, Caleb's not playing, because we always have to have that defensive stopper on the court. I think when it comes to the 2 of them playing backcourt, it's okay because we have a great stopper in Bam Adebayo. We have a great defender in, we have we have guys like Haywood Highsmith who can take one-on-one plays. We have Jimmy Butler who can get into passing lanes and cover for a lot of guys. Duncan has been pretty good this year defensively, a lot of less foul calls. He's really just been moving his feet and trusting in his players. And we always play zone. So when it comes to Duncan, Duncan is able to get his wingspan out there, be able to help on the defensive end. I am a little scared when guys like the Celtics or the Sixers, when you guys start to hunt the matchups against Terry, against Tyler, most of the time, even against Duncan, especially because they're undersized. But I feel like when it comes to that, Bam has started to become a lot more of a defensive helper, and we've taken him off the perimeter a little bit. I think Spo sees that he's a lot better as a helper when it comes to like playing down low. So that way we have a lot of guys who can rotate on the perimeter, guys who can contest shots. We have fast guys who can do all that. So it gives Bam the opportunity to stay low, get blocks. Like I saw it a lot last night when we were playing the Memphis Grizzlies. They had a lot of young guys on the wing, and guys were just rotating. And that's really what we want as Miami on defense. We just want guys rotating, contesting great shots, and just giving Bam the opportunity to help rebound and do all that. And that's really it. I don't think all 3 of them are going to play at the same time. He's going to manage their minutes. Yes. I think Duncan's always going to play in the fourth quarter because right now he's leading our team in fourth quarter points and fourth quarter threes, which I think is ridiculous. But now that we have Terry and we have Tyler, I think when it comes to the two of them, I think whoever's hot is going to play in the fourth. And I think Spo knows that, and I think they both know that too. Especially because
good.
No, I was going to say, especially because before we got Terry, there were times where Tyler was not playing good and Duncan was on fire. And like when we have like 8 or 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter, Tyler would sit and like he wouldn't say nothing. He would cheer everybody on, and that's just Spo being Spo, and that's just everybody respecting Spo. So I think like outside of trusting in Spo, I think like not all three of them are going to play at the same time. And I think Duncan's always going to play in the fourth because he's scoring a lot better. I think Terry's definitely going to be able to use his speed, get into passing lanes next to Jimmy, especially that zone is going to help a lot. And yeah, I mean, that whoever's hot is playing in the fourth. That's it.
Yeah. And you got to hope that Terry, it's hard playing in Charlotte for a team that isn't winning. It's hard to buy in defensively when you're not winning.
Absolutely.
So you got to hope Terry, at least the effort's going to be there, which I think he's shown effort in the past.
He showed a lot
he's going to be.
He showed a lot of effort last night when I was watching the game. Like I was at work, but like during my break, I was watching a lot of like the replays and watching, like I was able to watch the second half of the game. And like just watching Terry, like obviously he wasn't doing much offensively trying to get everybody else going. But when it came to defense, like he was upping guys' grills, rotating on defense. He had 2 steals so that he was able to get in the passing lane. He's playing up against guys. I feel like you can already see the difference in his mentality from playing in Charlotte to now playing in Miami.
Yeah, and Terry's been one of the most clutch players in the NBA as well. Not just this season, but throughout, his tenure in the NBA.
Absolutely.
It's a good problem to have, I think, having too many players to play and too many offensive players, because it feels like in the past it's kind of been your issue where you haven't had enough shooting, you haven't had enough offense. It feels like a lot of, especially the Miami Celtics games, and that could just be playoffs, are very gritty, sometimes lower scoring, and it's a lot of defensive matchups and kind of IQ and coaches going back and forth. So I do think it's a good problem to have now that you almost have too many offensive guys that could shoot and could score and get to the rim. Of course, Duncan Robinson, like you mentioned, is playing more off-ball screens, shooting, catching threes, stuff like that. Terry can do that too. Of course, Tyler here can do that too, but they could do a lot more off-ball as well, though Duncan has gotten better in that situation too. This is, in my opinion, this is probably one of the better Heat teams you guys have had in the Jimmy Butler era. Terry Rozier moves me a ton. Coming from Boston, this is even just my Boston bias aside. This put me, in my opinion, again, this is just for Boston because I know you guys are our boogeyman. To me, you guys are over Milwaukee to me in the playoffs, and you're over the 76ers to me. That's the type of move that Terry Rozier made. I think that's the type of impact he could have.
Are you just saying this because you on my show? Are you just saying this because you on my show?
I swear to God. I don't know if I said it on Pick a Side yesterday. I might have, but I don't think I did actually because I feel like I would have got some pushback. Milwaukee bringing in Doc Rivers halfway through the season, that's going to be tough. I don't know what the rest of the coaching staff is going to look like. I don't know if he's bringing in his own guys or he's just going to use the Adrian Griffin staff that he assembled. But it's hard to just come in midseason and not turn around, but go on a finals run. We saw LeBron do it with Ty Lue, but Ty Lue was an assistant there for multiple seasons. He knew all of those dudes. Doc Rivers, of course, has relationships with these players. He's been in the NBA for like 50 years, but it's hard to come in and be the head coach and all of a sudden just be able to turn this from the 22nd ranked offense, who's been the 22nd ranked defense, 28th ranked defense in January, one of the worst defenses this month, and make that a top 10 unit. That feels like where you kind of have to be around to be a finals level team. And then Philadelphia, I got to see it. Sixers fans out there, I do apologize. We have owned y'all, so that's why I'm not giving you your credit. But until I see you guys do it in the playoffs, until I see Embiid healthy, putting up these MVP numbers in the playoffs, Miami has shown me year in and year out, they're getting to the playoffs and they're healthy, they're going to be in the ECF. And now you get Terry Rozier, who's going to be one of your better offensive players. It's a huge move for you guys.
Absolutely. I could not have said it better myself. I think it's hilarious when people talk about that we're the 5th best team or even 6th best team.
Season, maybe. Regular season, you could lose to the Grizzlies, and I'm like, I don't care. Like, I don't give a shit. You guys are going to the playoffs.
Like people look at me, they're like, "Oh, I don't think Miami's gonna make a playoff run." I'm like, listen, the first word you said is playoffs. If we get the play-in, or we get the 6th seed, we get the 5th seed, we get the 7th seed, if we make the playoffs, y'all should be scared because Jimmy flips a switch and Bam goes back to regular defensive Bam, and like the only people I worry about is y'all. People are like, oh my God, Embiid's playing at a at MVP level. I've never seen it in the playoffs. They talk about the Knicks. The Knicks are undersized. They can't stay with us. Like they talk about the Cavs. I don't want to talk about the Cavs. Donovan Mitchell don't even want to be there. When you talk about he is balling. When you talk about the Bucks, they have no perimeter defense. I bet you if we play them, it's wraps. Like
I think
Jimmy,
you'd beat Milwaukee.
yes, like Jimmy would cook. All the perimeter players we have, Duncan is on a tear. Wait till Terry get going. Tyler's been playing great. Like Caleb Martin. I don't want to say that to you. My fault.
Hey, Caleb Martin.
But like, but I don't see where it's coming from. But like all I need to do is make the playoffs, and I'm good. And I'm not. Yeah. But just to talk about the other guys that are in the trade market, we talked about Zach to Detroit earlier. Detroit wanting Boyan.
What is Detroit doing? Like, why is Detroit going out and acquiring Zach LaVine's contract? I get it. They have like, I think 60 or 65 million this upcoming offseason. They got to spend it. But Zach LaVine on his 4 years left, 40 plus million every single year, when you have this stupid young core where you're trying to build and you're going to be taking touches away from all the young guys. I don't get it. I really don't.
I love Zach. I thought Zach would have been a great fit in Miami because he can play both sides. But I mean, I think getting Terry is definitely a little bit better for us, especially because now
too, he's making a lot less.
Absolutely, and I think it's great because we don't have to put Tyler at the one. I do not want to see Tyler playing the one. Tyler is not a one, and I've hated that for years. We did that once. We moved him to the bench, and then he won Sixth Man of the Year. I'm not having Tyler play the one, which is why I'm glad we got Terry. But when Detroit talking about they want Chicago talking about they want Cade, they want Asar, they want Ivy, they want Duran. That's just Chicago.
I'd hang up the phone.
If I was Detroit, I'd be like, oh, you want Cade? No. Like Cade is having a great year. Ivy's the one that like, okay, like maybe I'll think about it. But Cade, great year. Duran, great year. Asar, you got to give him time, but he's showing it on the defensive end. Like give this core a little bit of time. I think one of the people you got to give up is Killian Hayes. Like he's been a cancer to that team. And like the fact that Monty Williams is playing him really questions what he's doing in Detroit.
Do you think Detroit's feeling the pressure of being the worst team in the NBA, the historic losing season? Do you think they're feeling the pressure of, we just signed Monty Williams to a ridiculous contract. At the time, he was the highest paid coach of all time. Spo broke that. Do you think they're feeling the pressure to like, if we get Zach, we're going to be winning some games at least?
I honestly don't know. Like I feel the same way you said before. I don't know what Detroit is doing. I don't know what's going on. Like they have such great young talent. You would think Monty Williams would be that guy to put it all together. I even said it in the preseason that the Pistons could make the play-in. Obviously not anymore.
Play-in.
Like I really thought they were going to make the play-in. And like especially signing Monty Williams coming off a finals run, going to the second round last year, injuries killed them, but like what is going on in there? I think when it comes to Detroit, I think that they have a lot of young stars. They have a lot of young talent, obviously, but I just like it might be Monty Williams. I think it's the rotations. I think what they're doing, like they have some vets that like, yeah, we want to win now, and then some of the young guys just want to ball, and it's like I don't know what's going on. And it's crazy because if you look at them on paper, they're better than. Yeah, like I feel like they're better than some of the teams that are over them. Like I think they're better than Charlotte. I think now they're like neck and neck with Toronto. Like when it comes to just people on paper, like now that they got rid of like Pascal, OG, like I think they're on par with Toronto, and like they're going at it with certain teams in this league, but they're just losing games. Like I don't get it. Like.
They beat what they beat last night? Was it the Wizards or was it the Hornets? It was a terrible team, but they got a win yesterday, I think, or 2 days ago.
Yeah, they got their
fourth. Is that 5 wins on the season?
I think it's like 4 or 5, something like that.
God bless Detroit fans.
Yo, but like one of the trade buzzes I want to talk to you about is we talked about the LA Lakers earlier.
Mhm.
Does DeJounte move you? Now Drew's not here,
He's
so
not.
you can speak your
I
piece.
could be honest about the Lakers without getting screamed
Absolutely.
at. It's tough with the Lakers because when you have LeBron, it's always championship or bust. Any move you make if you're the Lakers, it's getting closer to a championship. DeJounte makes them better. I don't think there's really any question that. I know the defense has fallen off since he's gone to Atlanta. I do think the skill is obviously there. When he was in San Antonio, he was one of the better perimeter defenders in the NBA. We know he could shoot. He's hit a couple really clutch game winners, one
I
against
don't
you
want to
guys
talk
on
about
Haslam
it.
night.
Yep.
I was ecstatic about that. I think DeJounte definitely makes them better, and he will come in and be their third best player. I think he's better than Austin Reeves, and that's really the only third player who's in that conversation, Christian Wood or whoever else you want to talk about. But does it make them championship level team? No. It's going to be really hard for the Lakers as they are currently constructed to get past the Nuggets, to get past OKC, the Clippers. There's just a lot of top dogs
The
in the West right
Timberwolves.
now. The Timberwolves too. The Timberwolves offense scares me. I feel like they're I know the record shows they're top dogs in the West, but to me, they're kind of slipping into tier 2 in the West where I like OKC a lot more. I like the Nuggets a lot more. The Clippers even, but Clippers, I still got to wait and see playoff time. Got to make sure everyone's healthy. But to get back to the Lakers with DeJounte, I think it's a move they should make because he's probably the best player available realistically they can get. They have the Trae Young and Donovan Mitchell BS reports that are out there. You're not getting Trae Young and Donovan Mitchell. There's nothing you could put together that's going to make that happen. And
Absolutely not.
D'Angelo Russell has been playing really well. We mentioned that earlier in the show. I should give him credit to be their third best player this season. But he would be a part of this deal to make the money work. So you'd be moving off D'Angelo Russell and bringing in DeJounte Murray. I think before this season, everyone would say DeJounte Murray clears D'Angelo Russell. But now that DeJounte's shown kind of back-to-back years of really struggling on defense and the way D'Lo's been playing, it's an upgrade. But is it this upgrade that takes you from the 10th seed that you are now up to the 4th seed? I don't think so. They still feel like a play-in type team. Maybe they could climb to the 6th seed. But DeJounte Murray doesn't make them this championship caliber team. And if you have LeBron James, you're not a championship caliber team. You're kind of just wasting his years there.
Absolutely. I think just to look at it from Atlanta perspective, I think when you talk about DeJounte to LA, because Atlanta wants a starter and 2 first-round picks. I think if you're Atlanta, you call the Lakers like, hey, give me 2 first-round picks. I don't want D'Lo. I want Austin Reeves. And I think if you're the Lakers, you take that deal. I think that's a lot better when it comes to LA. I think because when you have that pass first point guard, the shooter type in D'Angelo Russell, and you pair him next to DeJounte, and then you have LeBron, you have AD, like it takes a little bit of the ball handling ability and the scoring ability from DeJounte so he can focus mainly on defense, which is what he was. So hopefully he can go back to his San Antonio days. If I'm Atlanta, that's what I want. And if I'm LA, I'm taking that deal 10 times out of 10. Especially the way
If you
D'Lo's
do
been
that, though, your
playing.
picks, you don't really got any picks left. Like, that's it. Any tradable first-round picks, you're basically putting all in one basket with DeJounte.
That's I mean, like you said, when it comes to LA and LeBron is there, it's championship or bust.
We got
Especially
sorry, I don't want to cut you off. We got the all-star starters. Do we
oh,
want to finish this topic? Do we want to finish this topic and
oh
then
my
get
God,
to
it's
them?
7 o'clock already?
Yeah, we got the
Yeah.
all-star starters.
Go ahead. I'll give you the honor. Go ahead. Let me hear it.
So, okay, we only have the East so far. I'm sure I could refresh and get the West. But for the East, captain is Giannis. No surprise there.
Obviously.
Tatum and Embiid is expected. But the backcourt,
Oh,
Tyrese Halliburton and
obviously.
Damian Lillard.
What?
Damian Lillard over Maxey, over Brunson. That's surprising because I feel like most people are looking at it like Dame's kind of having a down year, or at least what we were expecting Dame to do in Milwaukee.
I'm a Dame fan, and I think Dame should have came off the bench. I think because I remember I was talking about. I think I went over my All-Star starters with John when John was on the show 2 episodes ago. I said it. He was like, "You really think Dame should start?" I'm like, honestly, no. Especially the way Jalen Brunson's been playing. I think Jalen Brunson deserves that honor of being a starter next to Tyrese Halliburton. I knew Tyrese was going to start. He's having an All-Star year. He's leading the league in assists. It's in Indiana. Like, there's no reason why he should not start. When it comes to Tatum, Giannis, Embiid, Every year, same thing. I get it, 100%. But I think Brunson should have been that guy. I love Dame. I wanted him to be in Miami. He went to Milwaukee. I'm cool with that. Ultimately, I've loved Dame since he was at Weber State. My dog, he is having a down year. Like when you talk about they brought him in to be that half court offense, he just hasn't put up the same numbers. He's with a new team. Yes, they're second in offense, but he's still not like getting into his groove. I'm hoping after the All-Star break with Doc Rivers there now, hopefully maybe some things will change and we can go back to Dame time. But I mean, we'll see what happens. We can wait like 5 minutes and then we can get to the West.
Yeah.
I before we go back to that, I did want to talk to you about how did you feel about Embiid 70 points, Cat 62. How'd you feel about that the other day?
Embiid is so crazy, bro. Embiid is so nuts. Like it's sometimes because again, we beat them all the time in the playoffs, so I feel like I don't take them seriously as I should. But Embiid is historic, bro. Like he's generational. What he's doing, the efficiency at his size, putting up a 70-point game, and I mean he's been doing this all season long. Not 70, but he should be the leader for MVP, leading the league in scoring, still rebounding the ball. Has taken a step in the fact that he's taken a step as a playmaker at age 27, 28 years old, just shows the type of dedication he has in the offseason and just the will to get better in all facets of the game. Super impressive. The 70-point game was nuts. I mean, what do you have? 44 at halftime, was it? He was going crazy.
No,
The Cat one was
Towns. That was Towns.
Oh, Towns had 44?
44 at halftime.
The Towns one was interesting because they lost the game to Charlotte. And he got benched I don't know if benched, but he got benched. He was on the bench in the fourth quarter in closing time where at the last like minute or two, I called like the last like 4 or 5 minutes of the game. Brandon Miller hit some stupid clutch shots. He's been looking awesome these last 4 games or so. It was really interesting to hear Chris Finch's comments after the game too, where he was kind of saying we got lost in the game. And Anthony Edwards mentioned this too, where they were just trying to get the ball to Cat. They were trying to see how many points he could score, and that cost them down the stretch. And he mentioned an immaturity of this team. But beyond everything, I really do think the Timberwolves offense is a real issue. You know, they've been struggling offensively for some weeks now. The fourth quarter offense is disgusting. They're middle of the pack in terms of, offensive rating, but fourth quarter, they really do struggle. That's the biggest concern I have with the Timberwolves team. Credit to Cat, the 60-point game, incredible. He started super hot with 7 for 8 from 3 in that first half. He was on fire, could not miss any shots, and they were up big at one point. You have the Hornets announcer going crazy every time he was hitting the shot. But down the stretch, losing that game, it's downright embarrassing. Not only are you playing the Charlotte Hornets, who, listen, it's the NBA. Any given night, dudes could get beat. You're the best team in the West, arguably the best team in the West, playing arguably the worst team or second worst team in the East. You should handle that team with ease. The fact that they lost that game with Cat giving you a historic performance, then you hear the Chris Finch comments, you hear the Anthony Edwards comments. The first few months for the Timberwolves were fun. October through December, they beat Boston one time. They were in a dogfight against them earlier this month too. But there's real concerns about this team. I know we were going to just talk about their performances individually, but it's hard to look at that 60-point performance and not be like, they lost. The offense fell apart down the stretch. So credit to them for those amazing individual performances. But the Timberwolves, they got some issues to fix.
Absolutely. I mean, Embiid, without a doubt, it was amazing to watch. I thought it was great. Just to talk about Cat real quick, I thought it was embarrassing, the fact that you lost that game. You get benched in the fourth, like to the Charlotte Hornets. Like that's really like that. I feel like that to me takes away from your.
To be fair, there was one call the refs blatant miss where he just got hacked like shit, and they didn't call it.
Absolutely,
that happens every game.
Yeah, that I feel like losing, especially to Charlotte, takes away from your 60 points. Like that's cool for you, but like as a team, like that's bad. Just to talk about the breakdown, 22 points in the first quarter, 22 points in the second quarter, 14 in the third, and 4 points in the fourth quarter. Like that's bad. That's bad.
Tough look.
Yeah. And I got the West starters here just to talk, just to mention those guys real quick. Obviously, you got LeBron James, captain, and to finish out the front court, you got Kevin Durant for the Phoenix Suns, playing great. Nikola Jokic, obviously. You got SGA as a starter, and the guard next to him is Luka Doncic. So I think those are to round out the West starters. And then, like Joel said before, the East starters, you got Giannis as captain, Jason Tatum, Joel Embiid, Tyrese Halliburton, and Damian Lillard. Before we get into our football topic, let me know how you feel about the West.
No SGA.
No, SGA was there.
Oh, my apologies. I misheard you. SGA was there. Okay, so I guess the only one, Steph Curry over Luka, but Luka's probably having the better season, and
Luka's averaging, I think, 33, 9, and 9.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's really any blatant snubs. Like, of course, we talked about Brunson on the other side, the fact that he didn't make it. Donovan Mitchell could have made it, but the West, that feels like the right five. I don't know if I'm missing anyone. You have so many dudes out there that it's hard. Like, you want to see Ant Edwards in there. Cat's been great this season. Gobert's been back in one of the best defenses, but you got Jokic. KD's been insane. LeBron, of course. It's really hard to break out those three. I think the West got it right. The East, I would be going Jalen Brunson over Damian Lillard.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I agree with that. I think when it comes to that works for me. Like, I think we hit it pretty nail on the head. So now, just to get into the football topic, it's just to go over the divisional rounds that happened last week. Then we can get into conference championships this weekend. I know you're a big Lamar guy. I just got on the Lamar train last year. Actually, the first year he won MVP, I'm like, yeah, this dude's a stud. I'm riding with this guy. Ravens win 34-10. He had a big game, 152 passing yards, 100 rush yards, 4 TDs, 2 rush, 2 pass. You know, I wish CJ would have played a little bit better. Nico Collins had a decent game. Was this a dominance, or, like, the way I look at it, Lamar played great, CJ played bad, Ravens win. That's it.
This, as much Lamar deserves credit, but this really felt like a coaching, just the coaches of the Ravens dominated the coaches of the Texans, because at the end of the first half of that Ravens-Texans game, or let me backtrack for a second. At the end of the first quarter, the Ravens score a touchdown. They go up 7-3. They go 3 straight possessions where they go 3 and out. And the final drive right before the second half, they go 3 plays negative, like 10 or 15 yards. D'Amico was sending blitz after blitz after blitz, and the Ravens had no answer for them. They come out in the second half. They score on every single possession. Touchdown, 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 field goal. And they blow the Texans out of the water. It's 10-10 going into halftime, and it's 34-10 the final score. The Ravens defense allowed 3 points. The only touchdown they got was that punt return touchdown.
Yeah.
So to me, as much as I got to give Lamar credit, and he's been phenomenal this season. MVP, the growth he's taken as a passer. To me, this is the best Lamar season, even better than the 2019 season. I think 2019, he was more electric as a runner, and he kind of came onto the scene and surprised a lot of people. Of course, he only played a handful of games his rookie year. First year fully started and wins the MVP. But this season as a passer, it's night and day. His touch, and more than anything, his ability to maneuver the pocket is second to none in the NFL. Yeah. He might have the best pocket presence in the league, and some of that has to do with his mobility and his athleticism, where he's able to make guys miss in a phone booth within that pocket that a lot of other quarterbacks can't. But you could tell he's put in time in the offseason and during practice, whether it's film study or just communication with the receivers, that they have this ability where it almost feels like Mahomes, Tyreek Hill-esque in their prime, where when Mahomes rolls out of the pocket or he's in the pocket maneuvering, guys are able to find open spots. I feel that a lot. I feel the same way for the Ravens and their receivers with Lamar Jackson, where Lamar's buying time in the pocket, he's rolling out or staying in the pocket, and receivers are able to find those open holes in the offense, in the defense. And this is the growth we've seen in this Ravens system. It's not only Lamar's growth, but moving on from Greg Roman to Todd Monken is one of the bigger coordinator changes this past offseason that I think got overlooked a bit. Greg Roman had a lot of success with Lamar. He won an MVP with Lamar. They were, first place the last 2 seasons before he got injured. It's really difficult as an organization to have that type of success and then make pretty drastic changes to your staff. So you got to give credit to the Ravens for saying, we're winning a lot, but we could do better than this. They move off Greg Roman, bring in Todd Monken, who was at Georgia before. He coached with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as a head coach in previous stint. And he's a pass-first type of dude. right? He's someone who, compared to Greg Roman, I mean, this is like the air raid offense. And the fact that they have a much more sophisticated passing attack, this is why we're seeing this version of Lamar Jackson. He had to improve as a passer, which he has done, but now he also has the other side of that where the coaching staff is putting him in position to succeed. And he's still doing this with Zay Flowers and Isaiah Likely as his top two options. He doesn't have a number one. We're hopeful Mark Andrews is going to return, but even if he does return, it's Mark Andrews, Likely, and Zay Flowers. That's your top three. That's a bottom 10 top three in the NFL with all the talent across the league. So the fact that he's doing this with this lack of talent, with all the injuries to running backs, he's special, man. This is a top three, top four quarterback in the league. And I really do think this is the year for the Ravens to win the Super Bowl. I think the offense is clicking. Great. Todd Monken's phenomenal. And Mike McDonald, what he's doing on the defensive side of the ball coming over from Michigan, he's been a home run hire. This is one of the best defenses in the league. I think they're going to be Kansas City this week.
Absolutely. I actually have them beating Kansas City as well. Just to talk about this weekend. You talked about Lamar's pocket presence. That's really the biggest thing that I've been talking about since this year. Like every time I talk about it on my show, I just talked about it on Diving Deep when I was over there. There's this one play that really stuck out to me. It was later in the season. They played the Miami Dolphins. There was a point where Lamar dropped back, and you could see the back of his jersey. And I'm looking, and I'm like, is he about to throw left-handed? Yeah, and I'm watching him, and the fact that he's able to stay there, stay composed, look the whole side of the field, he turns his body and lets it go and creates an amazing pass. I think it was Zay Flowers or Odell Beckham to give them like 25, 30 yards. I'm watching that, and I'm like, wow, he didn't run out the pocket. He didn't panic. He didn't use his legs. He stood there. He trusted his line. He was able to move in the pocket, stayed on his toes, and made the right read. When you look at a guy like Lamar Jackson, who came into the league, which I'm still angry about this, that people say he should have been a running back, should have been a wide receiver. The fact that he's evolved as a pass player and the fact that he can still use his legs, his pocket presence is no joke. Like when you see just the evolution that he has these past couple years and already winning an MVP, he's going to win his second one. They just have to give it to him. But like I don't see, and like you spoke about the defense, obviously one of the top defenses in the league. Like I don't see why they cannot win this year. Like why this is not their year. Like I don't see why I don't see why he can't pull a Mahomes last year, win the league MVP, win the Super Bowl, win a Super Bowl MVP. Like the Ravens are my pick. I've said Lamar was going to be MVP since the beginning, and I'm sticking with my guts. I'm going to tell you right now, when Lamar wins Super Bowl MVP, I will be the first one on Ravens.com, and I will be buying that jersey.
I'm gonna get emotional, man. I can already see, like I've been picturing these last couple of days, Lamar holding that Lombardi, bro. I might shed some tears when I see that, man. All this shit that Lamar's been through, just these last couple of years, been nasty because of the injuries. They've been in first place the last 2 seasons, and he's gotten hurt. And people just kind of writing him off like, it's Lamar, but he's not good enough as a passer. He's not able to stay healthy. And he's proven all of that wrong. And he's the work he's put in himself, the growth that he's gone from Louisville to 32 overall in the draft, to backing up Joe Flacco, to winning MVP, to going through all the injuries and the ups and downs and where he is now. Also putting to bed those stupid playoff narratives that were out there that he can't perform in the playoffs.
Absolutely.
Which was always dumb. If you knew ball, you knew that Lamar can play in the playoffs. He just, realistically, he hasn't played in the playoffs in 2 or 3 seasons. He's not the same player now that he was in 2020. He's way more refined. Exactly. So I'm happy he's kind of putting those haters to bed. I'm excited for him to get his chip, because once he gets that chip, like, he's legitimately a borderline top 10 quarterback, comfortably top 15 quarterback of all time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Top 2 MVPs and a Super Bowl. That list is awfully short. And he's only 27, 28. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I think, I'm not gonna lie, like, I don't want to sound crazy, but I know when Lamar holds that trophy, all I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put out a tweet. I'm gonna tag you in it. I'm just gonna go, yo, we did it. Like, that's it. Like, it's rap. Yo. But just to talk about talk about this weekend coming up. One of the biggest thing I wanted to talk to you about last weekend was the Ravens and how, like, just get your feelings about Lamar. But to talk about this weekend, we spoke about how they're going to beat the Chiefs. I'm going to get on to the next matchup, Lions Niners. Who you got?
I got the Niners in that game, but I do think Lions fans should feel decent about their chances
Mhm.
because when you go position by position for these two teams, they match up pretty decently in most positions. I think the only two areas where the the 49ers clear them is secondary. I feel a lot more comfortable with the 49ers secondary and linebackers. I don't think that's a conversation. But everywhere else, it's a real talking point because Jared Goff and Brock Purdy, I think Goff has more arm talent. I think Brock Purdy's more mobile. So, pick whichever one you prefer. Running back, CMC is that dude. He's the best running back in football, bar none. But Jahmyr Gibbs to me is a top 5 talent in the NFL. As a rookie, there are not many dudes as explosive as him. And then at receiver, of course, you got Brandon Ayuk, Debo, who might play, might not. Then you got Amon on the other side, who's just as talented as those guys.
Don't
The
forget
tight
about
end position,
Sam. I was just about to say Sam Laporta.
Sam Laporta is that dude. He's another guy that I feel like is a top 5 talent at tight end. George Kittle's better for now, but Sam Laporta there's not this huge gap. Like Laporta, there's a conversation there. And offensive line, I think, is a clearing for Detroit. So going into this game, if you're a Lions fan, you shouldn't have this like huge underdog mentality because I think you're in the NFC Championship for a reason. You don't get here by mistake. You have went out there, you beat the Rams, which a lot of people were taking the Rams on the road to beat you. You beat the Bucks, which most people were taking the Lions over the Bucks in this case. But you got to the NFC Championship game. You have one of the best play callers in the NFL in Ben Johnson. You have one of the best offenses in the NFL. And you got some dudes with McNeil, with Aiden Hutchinson on the defensive line, who could get after the quarterback, who could stop the run a bit. They're one of the best rush defenses in the NFL. But the 49ers have shown week in and week out to be one of the best teams in the NFL. And the
Absolutely.
consistency they've shown outside of the one game against the Ravens, it's really hard to not take their consistency week in and week out. Where the Lions, we've seen some ups and downs with them, right? I understand that we're playoff time now, so those first 18 weeks don't matter nearly as much as they did maybe round one of the playoffs. But the Niners consistently have been one of the best teams in the league. Brock Purdy, I know, didn't have a great game against Green Bay, but was good when it mattered most. And Kyle Shanahan, I have a hard time believing that he's going to go out to the NFC Championship game and lose to Jared Goff and these guys. So I got the 49ers winning, but I do think the spread is a little bit crazy. It's a 7-point spread. I think this is like a 3 or 4 point game. I think it's a one
Yeah.
possession game down to the wire, but I got to go with the 49ers here.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I agree with you that everything about the Niners are great. Like they're literally stacked top to bottom. To me, I'm more of an underdog story. I'm actually gonna go with the Detroit Lions in my
I don't
opinion.
hate that.
Not
I
yeah,
don't
like
hate that.
I'm going with the Lions because like I think Brock Purdy is great. I think CMC is amazing. Obviously, one of the best running backs in the NFL. Like you said, um, like when you talk about their offense, the defense, everything top to bottom, Niners, Niners, Niners. But like there's something about this Detroit Lions team. The fact that they've made it this far, they're able to do what they did during the season, get a divisional win. Like they won their division. Now they're now onto the chip. Everything like and like I'm more of a believer in Jared Goff than other people think. I think Jared Goff is great. Like I don't ever forget that he took the Rams to a Super Bowl after being a number one pick, after being, like being there for 1-2 years. I understand Todd Gurley was the best guy on that team, but like the quarterback is one of the most important positions in football. Like I can never take that away from Goff. And like I don't know, I think Brock is great. I'm just gonna take Jared a little. I'm gonna take Goff a little bit more. CMC is great. I think the combination between Jahmyr and David, I think, is great too. Like you mentioned the offensive line, Sam Laporta, Amon Ra's having a top tier year. Like, and they got their best cornerback in CJ Gardner Johnson, and he made a statement last game. Got a pick, was able to do his thing against the Bucks. I understand Mike Evans cooked him. Mike Evans had a great game, but like I don't know. There's something about this Lions team that I just think they're going to get over the hump, and I think they're going to go to the Super Bowl.
I like that. That
Right?
would be fun. A lot Lions get into the Super Bowl after Oh my God, bro. I mean, what they hadn't won a playoff game in 30 years.
They made their first conference championship game. Meanwhile, the Cowboys haven't done it in a century. Sorry, I had to say that. Had to say that. But just to get into the last topic of the show to wrap this up here, Jim Harbaugh signs Chargers 5 years. He had a great career at Michigan. 89 and 25, 40 and 3 the last 3 years, 3 Big 10 titles, coach of the year 2 years ago, and just won a natty this year. Now, you may know, you may not know, I'm not the biggest believer in Justin Herbert. But when it comes to Jim Harbaugh coming,
why is that?
I'm not like, I'm a big guy that like when you're in the playoffs and like you can break records during the regular season. Yes, that's great. That's awesome. You go to the playoffs and you don't get it done. That's big for me. Like you play against the Raiders. That's a big game. You're supposed to win. You lose to Derek Carr. You get to the playoffs. You go against the guy who had 4 or 5 interceptions. Meanwhile, you know in that guy's mind, he's probably like, yo, we're going to lose this game. Yes, you had 240 yards. You had 1 touchdown. The defense did their job. You're supposed to do yours, and you didn't, and you lost the game. Like, you were able to let Trevor Lawrence come back, get his confidence, and win that football game. Yes, you broke rookie records. You're up there. You got great arm talent. But when it matters, you don't do nothing. Like, that's a big thing for me. And, it's just hilarious. Like, Jared Goff has more, like, people say Justin Herbert better than Jared Goff. Jared Goff has more playoff wins than you. Baker Mayfield has more playoff wins than you.
Everyone does.
Everyone has more playoff wins than you. Like, CJ Stroud won a playoff game before you did. Like, people say I'm a hater. I've honestly taken the mantle of being a Justin Herbert hater.
Where do you have him ranked?
You said what?
Where would you have him ranked? He's top.
I think
10, like top 10.
I had him in the 10, but I didn't have him past 5.
Okay.
Like, I think I had Rodgers up there, but Rodgers got hurt. I don't want to talk about it. That was very upsetting. Oh my God. I had it in like one of my first episodes. I had him up there. Like, the kid's a stud. Like, I think he's great. You just got to get it done. Like, you go to the playoffs and you don't get nothing.
Would you have Jalen Hurts or Justin Herbert?
Jalen Hurts. I'm more of a dual threat quarterback kind of guy because Jalen can. Go ahead.
No. Keep going.
I was going to say,
I'm here for the Jalen Hurts talk. Yeah, let's do it.
Jalen can do it with his arms and his legs. People said that he wasn't going to be a good pocket presence. He showed that in the regular season all the way to the Super Bowl. He gets to the Super Bowl. They're taking away his arm. He moves his legs. One of the best Super Bowl performances when it mattered. He got it. He almost got it done. Almost beat Pat Mahomes. I understand almost is the key word, but they would not have gotten there without Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is that dude.
You don't got to tell me Jordan Love or Justin Herbert.
I don't know, because I'm not going to lie to you. In the beginning of the season, I was not crazy about Jordan Love, but I got to give him respect. He made it that far. His first year as the starter, won a playoff game, and he put up a fight against one of the best defenses in the league. So I have to take Jordan Love.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just like,
damn.
I don't know. I'm really not.
So Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, Lamar, Hurts, Love. That's 6.
Yeah.
CJ Stroud.
After this year, oh my God, I want to say yes, but I'm gonna get fried for. Honestly, I don't even care. Yes.
You're taking CJ Stroud over Justin Herbert. Okay.
Absolutely.
Let me see who I'm missing real quick.
How do you? Oh, I have it right here. Okay, so I had Justin Herbert at 7 to start the year. I had Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Jalen, Lamar, Aaron got hurt, doesn't count. Justin at 7, Trevor at 6, Dak at 9, and Deshaun failed me at 10.
He did fail, yeah. Okay.
Failed super bad.
Oh, man.
I'm just
So does
not.
this Jim Harbaugh, does this move you? Is this going to
I
become
I
a Justin Herbert believer now?
I I'm not a believer in Herbert. I'm a believer in Jim Harbaugh because he has the resume. Like literally, he's coming off a natty. And I understand college is different from the NFL, but I think when you look at Jim, he's had success over the years. He was supposed to coach in the NFL before. Him and Minnesota were back and forth. I think he was talking with another team, but Jim Harbaugh for being there for 5 years is definitely big. Hopefully, he can change that defense around. Hopefully, he can. Keenan Allen can stay healthy. He stayed healthy this year, but Herbert went down. But I'm hoping he can. Like, I like to see guys change my perspective. I like to see guys like succeed when they're at their worst and stuff like that. But I think Jim can change this Chargers team around. Hopefully, get Herbert a playoff win. But I'm gonna tell you right now, if Herbert doesn't play good and they win the game, I'm gonna tell you. Like, I'm gonna tell you, that's not Justin. That's Jim. So it moves me a little bit, but this division is tough.
It's super tough. This move, it moves me a ton. Jim Harbaugh, when he first got to the 49ers, this would seem that I think it was 8 straight losing seasons. We know the Niners historically one of the best franchises in the league. Joe Montana, Steve Young, all those dudes. But those like early to mid 2000s, they were really not a great team. But he took over immediately. They won 13 games. The defense went almost every year before that for 8 years when they were having those losing seasons. They were in the 20s outside of 1 year where they ranked top 10. He comes in, they're a top 5 defense in the league. We saw what he was able to do with Alex Smith. We were able to see what he was doing with Colin Kaepernick in that offense. What they really were missing, the Chargers, was a culture setter and a leader. And that's what Jim Harbaugh is going to be able to bring to this organization. Did it with the 49ers. He did it with Michigan. Wins a natty in his last season. The defense that Michigan was running, that's a Mike Macdonald style defense. The defense coordinator at Michigan is probably going to be getting looks for the head coach or for defensive coordinator position in the NFL if he wants it now that Harbaugh is gone. Might even bring him to LA. Who knows? But this is a move that the Chargers desperately needed. And I think this is a move that puts them in conversations, maybe not in the AFC West because we know how great the Kansas City Chiefs are, but they're going to be in the wild card position, in my opinion, in the AFC. I know they were far away this season, but last year they made the playoffs with Brandon Staley. It was an ugly, ugly playoff game, an ugly, ugly loss that they should not have lost. But they made it to the playoffs with, in my opinion, one of the worst head coaches in the NFL. Brandon Staley was this defensive-minded guy, and they've been one of the worst defense in the NFL ever since he got there, and he was not able to improve it. If you're not fixing the defense and you're a defensive-minded head coach, what do you really bring to the table? I like Justin Herbert. I think Justin Herbert is comfortably a top 7 quarterback. The talent is there, the arm talent. He can make every throw. He's mobile. He's not Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, but he's more than mobile enough to get in and out of the pocket and scramble.
Mm-hmm.
This is a great move. And I mentioned this on Pick a Side yesterday too, where Pete Carroll did a very similar thing when he moved on from USC when he goes to Seattle. He knows all of these dudes in college. He drafted Richard Sherman, Russell Wilson, Cam Chancellor, dudes that are going to go on to be Hall of Fame level careers in day 2 and day 3 of the draft. I'm excited to see who Jim Harbaugh brings in from the draft this upcoming season because he's been in college for years. He's been at Michigan. He's playing all the top dogs, won the national championship, like I mentioned. He knows the dudes that could actually play. Are they going to be able to bring in Hall of Fame level players on day 2? That's a lot to ask. But I think they're going to have one of the better draft classes for the next couple of seasons because Harbaugh's seen all of these guys. He's recruited all of these guys. He's seen all this high school tape. He knows the family. Like, he's been in the weeds for a lot of these prospects. And the Chargers got a lot of holes to fill. I think they could be making a lot of big cuts in free agency because they're not in a great cap situation. They got a lot of dudes like Mike Williams and Khalil Mack who were high-impact players in years past, but they could save $20, $40 million by moving off of these guys. So there's going to be opportunities for rookies to come in and make a big impact. And I think bringing in Jim Harbaugh is going to have, it's going to be huge for them because they're going to get real life impact guys in day 2 and day 3 that you don't really see a lot in the NFL.
Mm-hmm. No, listen, when you bring it up, when you bring up that point, like that's definitely huge, especially mentioning Pete Carroll. Like we all know his success in Seattle and stuff like that. So listen, you ain't got to talk to me about culture. I definitely get it when it comes to Jim. He's definitely been that culture guy. Hopefully he can bring it to the Chargers. Hopefully they can turn the whole thing around. They're gonna have Herbert for a while. If they can move off Keenan Allen, bring in some guys. I mean, I just got to see it to believe it. I'm one of those dudes. Like I like numbers. Numbers are cool, but I'm one of those dudes that I think numbers lie, and I'm an eye test person. Like I got to see it.
Herbert doesn't pass the eye test. He passed the eye test with flying colors to me.
I mean, there are some times where I'm like, okay, like he's heating up, he's good, he's getting there, but then he makes like those throws where I'm like, dude, what? Like he'll make it to the receiver, but like his placement, like the over the shoulders all the way out here. Like he's supposed to hit him in the chest. It's like up here, and it's like bro, come on, like you gotta like clean. For me, I feel like when it comes to Herbert, like you gotta clean up the little things. If you can clean up the little things, you can get your team a little bit more success. Extend plays. Don't always go for the home run play. And I feel like it's the same thing with Josh Allen. Josh Allen is the same way. Always going for the home run. Don't work like. You should get the first, second, make your way there, creep up, take some time off the clock. There's no need to win now when you have time to get there. So, I mean, like you said, I hope, Jim, are you about to say something? Go ahead.
No. Listen, I'm a Herbert guy. We'll see what happens.
Absolutely. I mean, so my last thing I did want to ask you about is Antonio Pierce got the Raiders job. Gerard Mayo got the Pats job. Callahan got the Titans job. We just found out, I think it was yesterday or today, Dave Canales got the Panthers job. Raheem Morris today got the Falcons job. Seahawks Commanders left. You got Bill Belichick, who's still looking for a job, and Pete Carroll, who's still looking for a job. I think one retires, one gets a job. Who do you think goes where, and who do you think stays at home?
I think Pete Carroll's moved into the front office for Seattle. So at least this season, I don't think he's gonna be coaching. I think he's gonna be like some like advisory role they gave him or something like that. So it wouldn't shock me if next year though Pete Carroll gets back in the mix. I think Bill Belichick looks like he's gonna be taking a year off coaching. We'll see if next year with probably gonna be another 7 job openings. We'll see if he's gonna get offers, but he only interviewed with Atlanta. And I was saying this earlier this season, and I got a ton of backlash when I said I would take Mike McDaniel over Bill Belichick going forward. I just want the offensive-minded guy. I want the dude that's going to make Tua statistically a top 5 quarterback over Bill Belichick.
I want the dude that's living in the here and the now, not the back in the day.
And the NFL is showing that. Like, one team reached out to Bill Belichick for an interview. So there's a real chance he's going to be sitting out this upcoming season, which is crazy. I think it's the first time I saw a tweet today. I think he started coaching the NFL in like 1974. Maybe it was 84. But regardless, this is going to be the first year likely without Bill Belichick in like 50 years, which is crazy. But I think Washington's going to hire Ben Johnson. I think they're going to be drafting Drake May most likely, get an offensive mind in there. And for Seattle, it's tough because I think it's going to be I think they'll go defensive route. I feel like that's the route they're going to go. I think Vrabel and Mike McDonald would be on my short list. Bobby Slowick is probably in that conversation too. He's an offensive mind, of course, with Houston. But I think McDonald and Mike Vrabel, I could see those two being high candidates. It's whether do they want to go with the proven guy and Mike Vrabel or more of the unproven with Mike McDaniel Mike McDonald, who hasn't shown it obviously to be a head coach, but came into the league year one. This Ravens defense has been fantastic, and it's given a lot of teams, a lot of top quarterbacks fits. We'll see how he does in Kansas City. If he's able to have another elite performance, he can really propel himself into one of the top positions. But I think it's between McDonald and Vrabel for Seattle.
Okay. I mean, I get it. Listen, when one of my boys told me that they were like, yeah, I think Bill Belichick's going to take a year off. I'm like, there's no way. With his resume, like, there's no way he can't get a coaching job. And it really looks like he might. Yeah, he only had one. So, I mean, it's tough. It's tough. I mean, we'll see what happens. I do like the Mike Vrabel one. I do think he is. I do think he's a proven coach. I think he deserves a coaching job. I do like the Commanders drafting Drake May. I think that's going to be huge for them, especially because like with their weapons that they have, the defense that the defense showed this year, they could be they can try to keep up. But all right, this is like my last thing before we end the show. I know you're a Jets guy. I'm a big Jet fan myself. I don't care what people talk about the hold merchant. Sauce Gardner's that fucking dude. Like, that's all I'm saying. I cannot wait for Garrett Wilson to change his number to 5 because I'm buying that jersey. 5 is my favorite number. It only makes sense. Who do you want to see next year in a Jet jersey?
Oh, it's a
Because
good question.
I've heard talks about Devontae. I've heard talks about a couple guys. Who do you want to see in a Jet jersey?
My dream is we get Malik Neighbors at number 10. If we
Okay,
could get Malik Neighbors
I like that.
drafted number 10 overall, I think they're going to go tackle. They need offensive line help. I get it. But if
Absolutely.
Malik Neighbors somehow, some way, and a lot of mocks, he's going top 6. So I do think it's a bit of a long shot.
Is that
But
the
he
guy
is
from
so
Notre
explosive.
Dame?
LSU.
LSU. Okay, my fault.
Yeah,
Oh,
LSU.
Malik
He
Neighbors,
is-
the wide receiver.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, I know what you're talking
He
about.
he is so explosive. He had the most big time plays, 20+ yard catches in college football this season. It was like every catch goes for 20+ yards. After the catch, he's super explosive. Marvin is the number 1 receiver in this class, but in 90% of other drafts, Malik Neighbors would be the number 1 and pretty comfortably. So that's my dream. More realistically, getting Tay would be dope, but I feel like he might stay now that Antonio Pierce is the coach. It's really Malik Neighbors, I think. I think that's the one dude I would love to see on this Jets team next year.
Nah, I like that. I like that. I'm not gonna lie. I have looked at a lot of mocks. We're looking at tackles, a bunch of tackles. I think that's what we need, especially if we're gonna keep Aaron Rodgers for another couple years. We got to keep that man safe. I've seen deals where they try to wrap Zach Wilson in a deal. They try to send him somewhere so we can get Devontae. We can get a couple guys. Yeah. I mean, listen, man. We'll see what happens. But absolutely. I couldn't let you go. Without talking a little New York Jets, bro.
It's been a while since I've talked about the Jets, unfortunately.
Absolutely.
Or maybe fortunately.
All right, man. Well, that's going to do it for episode 16 of the Trophy Room Podcast. Dehls, is there anything you want to say to the people out there, man?
Hey, shout out to Trophy Room Podcast. Appreciate you for having me on. Listen, you've supported Pick a Side forever, so whenever you want me on, say the word, I'll be here.
Yo, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. Listen, man. But yeah, for those watching, make sure y'all like the video, comment on the video, subscribe to the channel. If you guys don't already, make sure you guys go follow Pick a Side Podcast, all platforms. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe their stuff. They really know what they talking about. And I said it when Drew was here. I would not be sitting in this chair without y'all, for real. Like, I would not be here without you guys. You guys definitely gave me some big motivation to even be up here and just talk, period. Like, you guys are great, man. Keep doing what y'all doing. And yeah, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and like the same way I end every show. Make sure you guys go tell your friends.